Hello. About 2 weeks ago I got my summer movie preview issue of Entertainment Weekly right here. It's been out for a little while. I was going to do a video on what I'm looking forward to seeing this summer, but there was only like a small number of movies that I was really excited about and also familiar with. Which means I haven't really been keeping up on my production news and what have you. So I decided to do a little research on a lot of the other movies that were listed in the issue that I wasn't actually familiar with. So I have sort of an extensive list. First I'll start, of course, with the movies that I'm super excited about, okay, and have been for a long time, and those are the obvious ones. The Avengers, The Dark Knight Rises, Dark Shadows looks like to be a decent Tim Burton movie, Prometheus by Ridley Scott, and something that actually just got started advertising really recently, which is called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. It's directed by Lorne Scarfia, who's the screenwriter of Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and there's already a poster and a trailer out for it. Basically, it's Steve Carell and Keira Knightley. There are a couple people who are just kind of trying to get stuff taken care of before a meteor comes and hits the world. It's a comedy, basically, before the world is destroyed. And I don't know, it's kind of an interesting subject. I've seen a couple of films on the topic, I guess, that aren't like, let's avert Armageddon at the last second, like Bruce Willis or whatever. There's a Canadian film called Last Days, I believe, which sort of touched on the same thing. Sarah Polley was in it, and Sandra Oh, and a few other people. David Cronenberg had a small part in it. But it was about people who are just sort of like, I don't know, they have their little bucket lists or whatever. They're trying to just get stuff done or trying to find someone that they really care about before the entire world is destroyed. And that's sort of the premise of this comedy. There's a lot of good people in the cast. In addition to the two leads, you've got Patton Oswalt and Adam Brody, Melanie Linsky, William Peterson. For some reason, William Peterson's in this movie. I don't know. Melinda Dillon, who I've liked for a long time. So yeah, that should be fun. So those are the five I'm looking forward to the most. Now there's a few sort of smaller scale cult type movies that I wanted to draw your attention to because they're ones that I'm going to be interested in seeing. A lot of people know about Moonrise Kingdom, of course. This is the latest Wes Anderson movie. Bruce Willis, Edward Norton, and Frances McDormand are among the main characters. It's about a summer camp, basically, some kind of Boy Scout camp. There's a boy and a girl, they're like elementary school age. They run off away from everyone else and have their own little adventure. And so everyone else is, I guess, trying to find them. And it's a comedy. I don't like all of Wes Anderson's movies. I'm one of the few people that really doesn't like Rushmore very much because I find the main character so irritating. But I like The Royal Tenenbaums. I really liked the one that takes place on the train in India. What was that called again? The Darjeeling Limited, yeah. And Bottle Rocket, the first big movie that he did with Owen Wilson. I never got around to seeing The Life Aquatic. I just, the whole idea of it, I think the title put me off because they added with Steve Zissou on there, and I was just like, that's dumb. I'm just not interested in seeing the movie. Fantastic Mr. Fox, of course. But a lot of people, of course, know who he is. Now, one of the movies I'm really looking forward to seeing this summer is The Queen of Versailles. This is a documentary. It's about a couple, very, very, very wealthy couple, billionaires, that decide that they're going to build a house based on the Palace of Versailles. It's going to be 90,000 square feet, and it's going to be near Orlando, and it's going to be, the largest single private residence in all the world, or something like that. Then, of course, the recession hits in 2008, and their income dries up or goes down considerably, and they're left with a half-finished, gargantuan mansion. So the documentary is about them coping with that, and I find that very interesting, and so I'll be looking forward to seeing that when it comes out. Lawless. This is a movie that just got a trailer very recently. It's directed by John Hillcoat. The cast is pretty good. You've got Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy and Jessica Chastain and Guy Pearce, a bunch of really good people in it. It takes place during Prohibition. It's about, moonshine runners, I think. But John Hillcoat is the director of a really awesome Western called The Proposition, and so that is one that I'm looking forward to. Ruby Sparks. Now this is interesting. Let's see, who's the director on this? Ah, Jonathan Dayton, Valerie Faris. Of course, they directed Little Miss Sunshine. Paul Dano is a writer, as he usually plays writers in his movies when he's not playing preachers. He invents a character, I guess named Ruby Sparks, who then basically appears out of nowhere, and who's played by Zoe Kazan. I've seen her in a few different things. He can't explain her presence there, but basically his creation, his fiction creation, has come to life. Don't really know a whole lot about it, but I like the idea of it, and I like a lot of the actors in it. Annette Bening is in it. I like her a lot. Antonio Banderas, Deborah Ann Wool from True Blood, Alia Shawkat, she played Ellen Page's best friend in Whip It. Steve Coogan, Elliot Gould, bunch of good actors, so I'll be interested in that. And here we have Killer Joe. Killer Joe is directed by William Friedkin, who has directed some such classic movies like The French Connection and The Exorcist, of course, and his last movie was Bug with Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon. I really liked that movie a lot. I thought it was really good. And it's based on a play, and Killer Joe is also based on a play. Michelle Williams was in this play many years ago when she was finishing doing Dawson's Creek, I think. It's about, I don't know, I guess people in their home are being terrorized by some bad people. I'm not exactly sure what the premise is. But Matthew McConaughey is like, the bad guy, I guess. I'm not really sure. Juno Temple, she's in The Dark Knight Rises. She was in Kaboom and Dirty Girl. She's this English actress who I think is pretty good. Gina Gershon, Thomas Hayden Church, good cast there. But Friedkin, that's a note, and it's a positive note there. Now I'd like to talk about a couple of movies that I'm not looking forward to seeing. I might have, under different circumstances, been really looking forward to seeing these movies, but not these particular movies. The Amazing Spider-Man, first of all. Spider-Man's getting rebooted. It's only been 10 years since the first movie and just 5 years since the last one. And that didn't seem to work out too well for the Hulk, and I don't know how well it's going to work out here. Of course, Marvel's done very well with a lot of its movies recently, and if they want to recast the entire franchise and start over and tell the origin story again from the beginning, well, that's their right, but I really am not interested in going through all that all over again. I mean, I really didn't even like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies very much. 2 I like better than the others, but not that much better. I wasn't like ecstatic about it. 3 was awful, and 2 I don't think deserves its reputation. Of course, there's a remake of Total Recall, and this is kind of unique for me because this is the first time that a movie that I saw in the theater several times and was a big fan of is getting a remake. That's how recent this film is that's being remade. I mean, there's other movies that get remade, that are foreign films or whatever, or maybe a low-budget version of a movie gets a big-budget version or something like that soon after it's released. But yeah, this hits closer to home for me. And I get why people are so angry with so many remakes coming out. Stuff like Arthur and The Thing, and there's just remakes everywhere. It's getting out of hand, especially when something as recent as Total Recall. I am a little bit curious about how they're going to handle it, but in essence, I'm disappointed that this is happening. I'm also a little peeved about The Bourne Legacy. The director is Tony Gilroy, who did writing on the other 3 films, and Jeremy Renner plays another kind of agent who's been trained by the same people as Matt Damon from the other 3 movies, and he's got to go on the run, and I don't know, it just, I wish they would just quit, I mean, with these franchises, they just can't leave it alone. They've got to keep making them and keep their revenue streams up, and creativity be damned. Edward Norton is in it. I like him generally, but I'm not going to go out of my way to see, him in everything, especially if he's going to be in something like this. I mean, I went out of my way to see The Incredible Hulk, and that was an awful movie. So, if I shelled out money for that, I'm probably not going to be much more pleased with The Bourne Legacy. Men in Black 3, they finally got around to making Men in Black 3. The 2 came out 10 years ago. Didn't like that one very much. The first one was okay. Wasn't one of my favorites or anything like that. I like time travel movies, so that could be interesting, but all in all, I think, it just seems like a big fat waste of time and money to me, except, of course, for the people who profit from all the dollars it will make. And, of course, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I've seen 2 different trailers for this movie now. The last one was, I guess, in front of Cabin in the Woods. And every time I've seen the trailer with an audience, there has been laughter. Everyone just cannot help laughing at the very idea of this movie. Yeah, it's just darn silly. You know, when they had the book, obviously, the book is by the same guy who did Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. And I guess it's supposed to be somewhat comical, but it sure doesn't come off that way. It comes off like they're taking it very seriously, and I just think that's a big mistake. I think they should have made it a comedy with Will Ferrell or something like that. Come on, I mean, Will Ferrell, you know, is perfect for, you know, playing a vampire slaying, you know, Abraham Lincoln, really. Now I'd like to talk about a couple other movies, 5 other movies that I wasn't looking forward to seeing originally, but have since sort of warmed up to a little bit. And the first one on that list is G.I. Joe Retaliation. What? Yes. The sequel to G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. Not many people from the original cast are in this. They recast the Scarlett. I call it the Scarlett Johansson role because she's, you know, dressed in skin-tight black suit and she has red hair. She was played by the girl from P2, Rachel Nichols, in the first one, and she's been recast as with Adrian Palicki. Anyway, Bruce Willis and Dwayne Johnson are the main characters, and they're, you know, fighting Cobra and having samurai fights and blowing stuff up. The primary reason why I'm looking forward to seeing this is because I actually thought that G.I. Joe, the first one, was very silly but also fun. I mean, Stephen Sommers, his movies are rarely not fun, with the exception of Van Helsing. And there was just, you know, the last one was just drenched with CGI effects, but hey, it was perfectly appropriate for a movie like that to be silly and light and just full of just like action and just ridiculousness. So this one's going to tone down the CGI, I guess, and make it a little bit more realistic, I guess. The mountainside thing looks good, but my biggest reason for seeing this movie is Adrian Palicki. She was on Friday Night Lights, and she's been in a bunch of films since then, but she's in a couple of movies called Women in Trouble and Electra Lux, and these are comedies, very, very low-budget ensemble comedies. She plays the same character in both of them. The one is kind of a sequel to the other, and she is a riot. She is so incredibly funny, and I just feel like, you know, she'll bring something to this film, you know, her sense of humor, whatever, her delivery, whatever. She's, you know, gorgeous, of course, but more than that, she's funny, and she's really, really funny, those other comedies, so I'm hoping that she'll liven things up a little bit here. I mean, it can't be worse than the previous one. I guess it can be, but it probably won't be. Another movie that I really didn't know anything about, hadn't even heard of, but read about, is a comedy called That's My Boy with Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg. And the premise for this movie is really messed up. Apparently Adam Sandler plays a guy who, when he was 13 years old, was seduced by his teacher and impregnated her, and now is meeting his son for the first time. So they're relatively close in age. And this is a comedy. That's messed up. That is really messed up. I'm wondering who's playing the teacher. There's a few other people in this, but I don't remember who exactly. I don't know if I'll actually go and see it, but I'm just eager to know what the heck is going on with this, because it just seems really messed up, and I don't know, it's kind of a good idea, really twisted idea for a comedy. I saw the original Expendables on disc. I wasn't all that big on it, except it did have a really, really, really great hand-to-hand combat scene between like 8 different guys in a basement. Now, The Expendables 2 has bigger roles for Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis, plus they've added Van Damme. Thank you very much. I love Van Damme. I mean, his movies, no, but the guy himself is fun. And apparently he's the villain in this movie, which is really cool. Chuck Norris is also in it. That'll be good for a laugh, I suppose. He takes himself way too seriously, I think. You know, some of the guys from the original, Jet Li, Jason Statham, Dolph Lundgren. I don't really get why they just were totally cool with Dolph Lundgren at the end of the first Expendables. I mean, he tried to have, you know, some of them killed. And he didn't even go on the mission at the end, and then finally in the last scene, they're just like, yeah, you and I, we're still cool. I'm just like, what is that? But they're all back in it. So, and it's directed by Simon West, who did Con Air. So here's hoping that's good like that and not bad like the first Tomb Raider movie. Now here's a movie that may not actually even get released this summer. And that, of course, is Neighborhood Watch. Neighborhood Watch is the comedy starring Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, and who is it? It's not Seth Rogen, it's the other guy. The younger guy. Jonah Hill, right, Jonah Hill. I thought the trailer for this was hilarious. I thought it was so funny seeing them ride around in their van to Dr. Dre, and that whole bit at the end, you know, listen to his face. That was really great. It probably won't even get released this summer. They'll probably delay it for a good long while because of all the horrible stuff that happened in Florida. But when it does come out, I'll be interested in seeing it. I still haven't seen Tower Heist, but I kind of want to see that as well. They just look like fun, you know. I'm in the mood for something comedic every once in a while. And there's one more movie that I wanted to mention as something that I didn't originally want to see, but now I kind of do, and that's Snow White and the Huntsman. I saw the Snow White movie with Julia Roberts and Armie Hammer. I thought it was pretty fun, and this one's going to be more serious and have more stylish, I don't know, photography. It'll be darker, obviously. But Charlize Theron is the villain. Hey, that's great. And the director's a first-timer, but, you know, the footage looks good. And I'm kind of interested to see what Kristen Stewart does with this part. Because normally I'd say she's not well suited for this role. In fact, I do say she's not well suited for the role, but hey, she could surprise me, you know. And Chris Hemsworth, you know, hey, he's good and all that. So there, that's about 15 movies that I want to see this summer and 5 that I pretty much don't. So I'm eager to know what you think. I'll be looking forward to seeing videos that you guys do on the subject if you choose to, or, you know, leave me a comment or something like that. And I will talk to you again soon. Take it easy.